over to you, Movery.
Hi, thank you very much. Okay, my name is Movery Livingston. I run a company called Temple Builders. We are not builders per se, we are building contractors. So if somebody wishes to have their house decorated, it may be not, we may not be the best people to call on. We are more into contracting. And I and my wife Patricia run a project called Restoring Our Community. Restoring Our Community was set up about 22 months ago, and the idea behind it was really to get the churches, the Black church in the main, engaged in the conversation about gun and knife crime. We felt that the church was not really engaged enough with this conversation, given that there's a lot of our young people were the victims of the gun and knife crime. And I felt that the church was kind of taking the view that it's not the people who come to their church who was being affected by this. But of course, it was children, it was cousins, it was uncles, it was people who may not be physically present in the church, but they were related to people present in the church. So I never felt that the church could really absolve themselves from responsibility of being engaged in this conversation, trying to find a solution. So we set it up 22 months ago. We didn't do anything about it because we're trying to find how do we step out and get some a starting point. Subsequently, COVID came, and the opportunity was there to again go back to the churches and say, well, what are you going to do about this COVID situation? Are you going to sit back and wait until COVID is over and get back to church and just get happy in church? Or are you going to actually try to again be part of the solution? And hence we started out to, we were actually offered some rice by a contact of mine, and they offer some rice. Large company who was supplying Tesco, Sainsbury, and Morrison rice. And this gentleman was from a Sikh temple, and his company was to give back something. So he was giving out rice to people within the temple. And in turn, my contact asked whether I would like some rice to give out to the church. He knew that I was church connected. So we said yes. And that was 8 months ago. To date, we are now supplying pallets to 21, soon to be 23 churches. And I mean proper pallets, which consist of all grocery items, from toilet rolls to pasta to rice to tin products, a whole range of stuff. So in terms of physically, the pallet is about maybe 5 foot high. And we supply that to a range of churches, 23 churches, and 38 organizations. The 23 churches actually receive pallets. The rest of the church we just give donation to, because we get donation from 4 times per week from our organization that give us things, and we just in turn give it out to food banks. Temple Builders, as part of our giving back, we have committed ourselves to donating 20% of the profit from Temple Builders into Restoring Our Community, because I feel it's important that we do give back, and it's not really just a verbal, waiting to say, well, let's really other people give and we just simply sit back and watch. I think we have to really be demonstrating that sense of giving back. And it should really cost us something, because really if it doesn't cost us nothing, then really, one has to question how much really of that given back. So my thing now is really about church, as you would have gathered from my opening statement, that I am very church, been in church for over 50 years. And, I'm very integrated into church. I know how Black churches work. I understand the culture. I understand how the thinking. And I have a major concern as to really why the churches are not really becoming more engaged in helping business people within their congregation in the first instance. Really, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, because if you have business people in your church, in your congregation, it will mean that they will give big offering and tithes. So there's a win-win situation. But unfortunately, business people in a lot of churches are not really celebrated. The church I attend is maybe different, because they do acknowledge and celebrate business people, and they encourage it. But having been around church for a long time, that's not the norm. The reality is that churches tend to just simply view business as somebody else's thing. It's the Indian thing, it's the white people things, it's the Turkish people things, but it's not a Black thing. So I was very encouraged to hear the various speakers really just becoming very passionate about the need for Black people to really step up and really get more integrated in the business world. Because you go down any high street in London and beyond London, you'll find that you can count, the Black business, whether it be in Tottenham or Enfield or even Brixton, where there was really a lot of Black people present over the many years. But you go to Brixton now and you are struggling to find Black business, because we are just simply not really, I don't know if it's really a fear factor. I don't really understand why is it that we are so reluctant to risk our finance to really kind of step up into business. But the solution, part of the solution, is that we need to get more engagement with our churches. Black people like church. We are religious, as a matter of course, regardless of whether we actively go to church or not. We know somebody in the family will go to church. The Black church, I suspect, generate in the region of maybe 200 million pounds per year, and I don't think, certainly between 100 and 200 million pounds per year is generated through tithes and offering within the Black churches. There's approximately 3,000 plus Black churches across the UK. I don't know what the numbers will look like after COVID, because I suspect some of them will not open back. But the reality is that new ones will open, and they will basically attract people who will attend their churches. So if I'm correct, and I think I am not far out, that there is between 1 and 200 million pounds being generated in these churches, what is it that is stopping churches from really becoming more entrepreneurial and really innovative in engaging with people from their congregation and beyond? Because really, we ought to be looking not simply between the people who are in the four walls of the church, but also beyond, because the community need to really generate or develop an inward economy. Any community, regardless of color, which does not have an inward economy is going to fail. So if you trace back the failure of the Black community is because we do not have an inward generating economy. So therefore, we are not producing millionaires. You know, all our money is just really being spent out. And if you are spending all your money out with other grouping and other races, then of course, where is the millionaires coming from? Where is the successful people? So you can have a good job, and we have a lot of Black people who have very good job. But the reality now is that you have COVID, and a lot of people who had good job before COVID will find themselves out of a job. So a job is not the security that we need to be seeking. We have to start doing business. And if you look at America, you'll find that really they have a more liberal approach to using some of the money they are generating to encourage their congregants to go into business. So looking at the New Birth Church, Jamal Bryant, and I was watching him last week, this week, and he was actually sharing that his church was going to be giving away $365,000 to people who can be recognized as having challenges paying their bill, and they would be actually making direct grants to their debtors. They won't be giving their creditors. They won't be giving the money to them. But if they can come up and show documents that they are in debt and they need financial help, the New Birth will actually be giving this money, that paying directly to the people who they owe that money to. Rent, mortgage arrears, etc., etc. Now, that would be something that is unheard of in Britain, that any one of the large churches would actually step up to be doing that. Not only that, they are saying that they will be giving away something like 3,000 turkeys for Thanksgiving. So these are some of the practical things that they are doing to really ensure that the community they serve and the community which they are located in is having benefits from the church. And I believe that we need to really be started having a conversation with denominational leaders to say, surely there must be space for a conversation at least to see how the churches can help to support Black business. Now, as I say, I'm a building contractor, and I suspect that certainly millions of pounds, tens of millions of pounds is spent on building projects across the Black churches in the UK. And if you were to ask these churches how much of that money that is being spent is recycling within Black companies, building companies, the reality is that a lot of them will say, not much. And I have first-hand knowledge of some of these expenditure. There's a church which is currently doing an £8 million project. And that £8 million project is not being done by a Black person, a Black company. So you have all of this money being spent, and the vast amount of it, only maybe a tiny percentage of that money is being recycled back into the Black community. Even when they have builders in their churches, they have yet to really kind of find a mechanism to say, we will give you that job as a matter of course, because you have the right credential and you have the right structure to be able to do it. Now, the reality is that in some case, The Black Building Company, and as with other business, do not have structure. So in regards to what Mavis, I think, was saying about structure, part of the fault lies with us because we do not have transparent structure and all the right credential and the insurance and all of those things to really allow us to be really be considered in some case. But that's not always the case. It is something that really we have to becoming more conversational with church leaders. We are saying we need preferential treatment when it comes to really contract awarding. But, you know, the conversation has started. Dawn has basically provided forum, and well done, Dawn. Thank you for the opportunity. And I think we have to now do is to really, as the previous speaker was saying, really cut the talk. You know, let's cut down on the talk. Let's start the action. Let's start the doing. You know, because only when we can start doing rather than talking, is like going to a motivational convention and getting all excited by the motivational speaker, and then you just leave out and you forget everything that she was saying. So let us start doing, and I'm sure if we have really, if we link our head together, we can get something done. Thank you very much. Just one last point. We have launched a crowdfunding for Restoring Our Community, and we are in negotiation to take over a warehouse for the food bank in Layton. So we have a crowdfunding for stock in terms of goods, grocery items, and we have a 50,000 appeal for to help to us to acquire the premises in Layton. So feel free, it's on restoringourcommunity.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Movery. Thank you so much, and well done. Churches indeed need to step up and look at this economic situation. I do think it's quite bad that they would have an £8 million contract that they're giving out, and none of their own congregation or their own community is benefiting from that. I think that's really quite bad, and that's something that, you know, we as a group need to really be holding these churches and other organizations who do similar things accountable. You know, we're asking government for contracts for our community, for our businesses, and yet our own organizations are also passing us by, and that's not good enough. Thank you so much, Movery, for bringing this to our attention. We will add this to our recommendations at the end of the conference.
This work is by Kevin Tomlin, who is a music historian, artist, and art teacher.